Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. We are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. We've got a great show for you today. I see the chat is already popping. Will Likes, Stephen Folkerts, Jeff Stenberg is in here, Ron Moore, Buckets is in the chat. Speaking of buckets, let's look at the recap screen real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, we go 6-4. It's a good day, certainly, but look at the left side of this screen. Shout out to Brad Thomas, who came onto this show a couple of days ago. He hits his pick. Martin Green goes 2 for 2. And not only does Buckets go 2 for 2, by the way, with his top button fastened, but since he's been wearing that shirt, the top button fastened, he's gone 6 for 6 on this Early Edge show. So I'm just saying we miss out on a lot of the hockey picks. Mike McClure hits his pick. No surprise there. We go 6-4. It's a few winning days in a row for us. Let's try to make it another one with the stars of the show. Let's bring him in right here, right now. Buckets is in the chat. Ask him anything you want soccer related. We've got EC. We've got Larry Hartstein. We've got Propstarz, and we've got Tom Casale. Larry, I'm going to start with you. First of all, props to our soccer team from yesterday, but how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. The one thing that is kind of bugging me today, Sia, is this big story about the NBA and the Utah Jazz that Lauri Markkanen gets hurt in practice. They take an MRI. Aren't MRIs viewable online? Supposedly the NBA is sending multiple doctors to Utah to look at the tests. I mean, can't you just forward them the MRI? It's a story that is kind of fascinating to me. A lot of intrigue in the NBA right now.
Yeah, you can do that, Larry. So I don't understand why you need boots on the ground to look at an MRI. It's definitely we're in 2026 at this point. EC, I saw you cringing a little bit. How you doing today?
Well, that's my U of A guy, Lauri Markkanen. So we have to monitor him. See, is it a bad thing? I'm sitting here sweating round one Cognizant Classic stuff here. Is it a bad thing if I go to a spring training game today just so I have a reason to parlay a line with some in-play top 10s, round one top 10s? Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that because that's just the EC method. So, I mean, I don't want you to change it up now, EC. What game would you be going to?
I would go to the Royals Diamondbacks game. It's about 15 minutes away from me. It's a $20 ticket. Could, stand there, watch, sweat out some spring training baseball for 9 innings. What's wrong with that?
You know how you win that $20 back. Propstarz, how you doing today? I got to give you props because I know you weren't on the show yesterday, but 2 days ago, you gave out that Ben Caro prop. You were extremely, I don't know, like confident about it, for lack of a better word. I saw you on CBS Sports HQ. I was on there right after you. You were talking about that very play. People caught that. They made Ben Caro their king of the court play over at DK and won. Everybody cleared $800 or more. I can't remember. I didn't have that, but shout out to you. How you doing today, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Good morning, gentlemen. Hello, Sportsline fam. Currently broadcasting from my phone, which is a little bit of a pivot here in Propstarz Studio HQ. But yeah, I'm fired up. We've got a really nice little 8-game slate in the NBA, and I've got a pick that I absolutely love.
All right, Tom, we're going to go to a pick that you absolutely love. Your official pick today comes from college basketball. Talk to me about Michigan, Illinois.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one out here because I think this number is going to go up on the total. It's at 155.5. A lot of the metric sites have this at around 160. I think it's going to close at around 158.5. So if you're looking to bet that game, obviously the side's going to be tough. It's going to be a close competitive game. But I think where you're going to get the value on the early number is the total. And one of the things I want to say about Michigan is I wouldn't read too much into their last 2 games. Teams like Duke and UConn are bad matchups for Michigan. They're going to slow it down. They're going to cause turnovers. They're going to beat them up in the paint. So then you had Michigan play the ultimate sandwich game against Minnesota, and you could tell they were still sluggish from that Duke game. I expect you're going to see the elite Michigan offense here against Illinois. Michigan has done a tremendous job. And they've played a tough schedule and get into these big games, and their offense has been great. They've jumped on teams early, and Illinois matches up well with Michigan's defense as well. 2 good defenses, but 2 elite offenses, and I think that's what we're going to see here. And you get this early number because the line was given out 2 days early. You're going to see this go up. So if you want to bet that game, bet it now. Bet over 155.5.
All right, we're taking the over 155.5. I think we have a correction on the recap screen as I'm getting word that maybe one of Martin's plays didn't hit. If that's true, we're going to have to vet that out. Maybe the chat has already helped me out there. Usually when we mess that up, it's because we counted a win as a loss, but this time we counted a loss as a win. I think one of Martin's plays did not hit, so we would be 5-5 instead of 6-4. We'll double check that and give you an updated recap screen once we verify. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. EC. Now you've got a golf pick, you got a 3-ball, you've got to play in college basketball. I have a 3-ball to give out later, and I do want to mention EC before you go. We've got the round 3-ball matchup, Lee Hodges over Matt Wallace. They're on the 11th hole right now, I believe. Hodges is holding a 3-stroke lead, so hopefully that one stays true. Hodges is also one of our first-round leaders from the early wedge at 90-1. He's going to need to really the 4-under is the first-round lead right now, so I don't think he's going to grab that, but it's at least still in play. EC, talk to me about whatever you want to talk about first. You can talk about your 3-ball, talk about college basketball.
Well, you were just talking golf, so let's talk 3-ball. I'm going with Seamus Power. Plus 160 over Christian Bezuidenhout and Charlie Hoffman. This is a 12:47 p.m. Eastern time, tee time. So get it in while you can. If you're watching live, let's give it a shot. So here's the thing about Power. He's gained on the field in 7 straight first rounds, including 7.5 shots the last time out at Torrey Pines and 3.7 shots the week before at American Express. And he has made his last 11 cuts on the PGA Tour. Now, Bezuidenhout is the favorite, and there's nothing really to knock here. He has the best course history of the 3, but he tends to improve as the rounds go on. He's not necessarily the fastest starter, unlike Seamus Power. Charlie Hoffman is having a rough year. He's 0 for 3 and making the cut, and he's lost at least 1.3 shots to the field in each of his 3 first rounds this year. He is a fade. We're going Seamus Power with some nice odds at plus 160 for our round 1 3-ball. And then I can't believe I'm doing this, guys. Maybe Tom can back me up here. I'm backing a 13-16 team that is on the road that is giving 11.5 points, and that is South Dakota State at Kansas City. Now, how could I possibly be doing that? Well, the truth is that Kansas City is 4-24. They're on a 12-game losing streak, and they have lost all 12 of those games against the spread. They stink. Ken Palm ranks them as 355th in the country. That is 11th worst. It seems like they're just not even trying at this point. Now, UMKC lost by 28 to South Dakota State in January. I expect we'll see another 20-plus point blowout. This team just doesn't care. This line has already gone up to 12.5, so it's already up a point since I put it on the Sportsline site last night. Let's go South Dakota State minus 11.5 tonight.
All right, we got South Dakota State minus 11.5. We've got Seamus Power in a plus money 3-ball. I've got like a crazy 3-ball. And when I say crazy, if you thought plus 160 was a deep cut, mine's plus 240. And I always say, because I don't really love EC giving out 3-balls as much as I like isolating like a matchup, if you will. And because this is plus 240, I'll give it out in a few minutes. You only have to put less than a half a unit on this to win a full unit. So I'm not going to tell you how to bet, but I mean, these 3-balls, I generally, it's not that I stay away from them. I just bet them less when I give them out. So at plus 240, I would recommend you do the same. BetMGM. Let's talk about this promo one more time. This March, BetMGM is sending fans to Vegas. Opt in and place bets of $10 or more and earn leaderboard points based on your winning bets. 25 winners total will score a VIP trip to the Court of Legends with the Cavender twins, plus a 3-night stay at MGM Grand and Resort credit. BetMGM players will also receive a college basketball odds boost. It's as simple as making a college basketball wager, applying the boost, and winning extra cash if your bet hits. Speaking of college basketball, we've got more college basketball to give you. One from Larry, but also one from Chip Patterson. Purdue first half, minus 3.5, minus 115. Again, that's our Sportsline college basketball pick, courtesy of Chip Patterson. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got some questions from you in the chat. We got to get to Proppy's pick. We got to get to Larry's pick. We got to get to my pick. We got to monitor this Cognizant Classic leaderboard. We'll do all of that right after this message from our partners.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam! It is a basketball party. It's March. Expect the unexpected.
All right. Before we get to Larry, your pick and Proppy's pick, Tom, let me ask you some questions that are in the chat. Ray Garcia and Jay Long have questions about this Purdue game. One says, hey, Purdue -7. What do you think? The other one says Purdue team total under 74.5 at -105. Any thoughts there, Tom?
Yeah, well, we saw this line jump up pretty fast. It came out at 5.5 and it went right up to 7.5. So, and I thought the opener was a little bit low. I'm not a fan of this Michigan State team. Uh, they turn the ball over a ton, and I think that's going to hurt them in the tournament. I think seven's a little. It's that the number's fine. I kind of like the under there. I think this is going to be more of a lower scoring defensive game. Purdue's one of those teams that they'll play any style, right? If you want to run, they'll run. If you want to slow it down, they'll slow it down. And I think Michigan State's going to try to get that grinded out pace. So I like that team total under 74.5.
All right, team total under. EC, any thoughts on that particular game?
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State has tended to be an under team all year, but I came out in the early edge last week giving a Purdue under that did not go well for me. So that's one where I'm probably going to alt line it and play an under at that point.
All right. Larry, let's get to your college basketball pick, and then we're going to get to Proppy's NBA pick. If you have questions for Proppy in the chat, NBA-wise, please put them in there. Larry, talk to me about FDU.
Yeah, well, Thursday night means NEC basketball, one of the worst conferences in the country. This is a conference so bad that the team that won the conference tournament last year, St. Francis, announced as soon as they qualified for the NCAA that they were leaving Division I because they cannot afford to compete in Division I. They're still in the conference this year as their last year, but that's just a sign of how tough it is for these conferences, including FDU, which I'm on tonight, plus 5.5. They had a great player there last year, Terrence Brown, who's now scoring over 20 a game at Utah. You can't hold on to these superstars, but I think FDU does have enough to hang with Lemoyne tonight. This is a rematch game. FDU lost at home 87-74 to Lemoyne. Both teams are very comparable in the middle of the pack in the NEC. On that night, FDU was 4 of 28 from deep, and Lemoyne shot 62% from deep, 13 of 21. Now, Lemoyne shoots about 34% for the season in conference play. That was a clear outlier. I was expecting something like 3.5, maybe 4 in this rematch. Getting a full 5.5, I like this at anything 5 or over. If you look at FDU, their last 4 road games, they have won 2 of them. They lost 1 by a point, and they lost another in overtime. So they've been solid on the road. They also got embarrassed at home last time out. Got down 15-0, clawed back, made it a game, ended up losing that game to New Haven. But I think FDU comes out strong and at least keeps this close.
All right. We got to pick on FDU plus 5.5. We'll take more college basketball questions in the chat as well. Propstars, you've got a prop tonight on Najee Marshall.
Indeed, Sia. Yeah, I'm backing Najee Marshall over 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists versus the Kings tonight. Najee Marshall, when he gets playing time, coupled with guys being out of the lineup, has really produced at a high level. There is a lot of production that is missing from this Mavericks lineup. No Cooper Flagg, no PJ Washington, no Daniel Gafford. That accounts for over 40 points per game and 20-plus rebounds, 8 assists. That's a lot of production for Najee that's going to trickle down to him. If we look at the rest of this Mavericks roster, he usually is the biggest beneficiary when those guys are out. If we look at the splits of with Cooper Flagg and without Cooper Flagg, not only does his usage spike, he averages nearly 5 points per game more with Flagg out of the lineup. So I think this is a good spot for Najee to not only pick up the playing time, but a lot of that usage as well. Have plenty of shot attempts, and this is going to be a high-scoring environment. This has the second highest total on the slate today, this Mavericks versus Kings game, and the Kings are an absolute dumpster fire. They're a complete mess. They rank 29th in defensive efficiency. They bleed a ton of production to opposing forwards as well and high-usage players. So if this game is competitive, Najee Marshall is going to stuff the stat sheet. I love his chances to go over 27.5 PRA tonight.
It's interesting because Big Cheesy in the chat, he says absolutely no defense will be played in Dallas. So that caters to your prop to some degree, Propstars. He also says he loves the over 234.5 in that game. I'll mention that I'm looking at that over. That total is 236.5 in some places. So you're on the right track there. Proppy, let me ask you about this. Ace Bailey over 20.5 points and rebounds, says Big Cheesy. Any thoughts on that one?
I've been impressed with Ace Bailey. Yeah, I would lean over on this total as well. I know the Jazz, obviously, Larry mentioned at the top of the show, somewhat kind of inconsistent as far as the minute allocation is concerned, but Bailey's been consistent with his minutes. We've watched his maturation on the court throughout the season. Every month, his production has increased. So I like that look and what should be another high-scoring environment.
And finally, John, 1 second, EC. John Romero says, Najee, if it's over 28.5 instead of 27.5, would you still take it there?
I would, absolutely.
Go ahead, EC.
Yeah, and I think Jeff in the chat makes a great point. When Proppy says over, you pay attention. And that's the one thing that I've learned in doing a lot of shows with you. Normally, you're an under guy. Is you always say an under hits until it doesn't, right? You know, it hits until, you know, something happens. When you take an over, and especially one in a game that could be a blowout potential, that's one that I want to bet right away.
Yeah, Jeff Vandehay reflecting that. When Proppy does an over, I tune in. I mean, certainly. Let's see. Sixers money line minus 120. Any thoughts there, Propstarz?
No real thoughts there. I mean,
I wouldn't take that personally. I like the Heat right now more than I like Philly, just personally.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I'm surprised that that's the line too. But yeah, no real thoughts there.
Steve Lochner, of course, is the one that we've been, sending our thoughts to and our positive vibes to with his mom resting now post-surgery. Go ahead, Propstars.
I do like a prop in that game, another over. Tyrese Maxey has just destroyed the Heat throughout his career. It's been his calling card versus Miami. I think he's a great bet to go over his points line tonight.
All right. We're going to wait for some more questions. While we do that, I'm going to give out my pick. So first of all, 671 Stonefish says, Sia, thoughts on Thorbjorn Olesen over Chandler Phillips and Mackenzie Hughes in a 3-ball? Okay, two things. If you're ever going to ask me that, just put the price you have in there because it's almost impossible for me to analyze it unless I've memorized the price on that. With that said, I did look at all the 3-balls kind of over and over again this week because I wasn't super impressed with a lot of them. That would be one I'd stay away from. I really don't know what to do with Mackenzie Hughes tournament to tournament. I never know when he's going to flash round to round. I don't really want to pick on him. Chandler Phillips popped here and there on some of the stuff I looked at, so I don't have enough faith in Thorbjorn Olesen to take that 3-ball. This one is a little bit out of left field. In fact, EC, I think this is one of the guys you're targeting in your top. There was a regional matchup from the early wedge. I can't remember if it wasn't top Asian, but it was something along those lines. I think you were targeting Kenzie Hirata. I'm actually going to play Kenzie Hirata today, plus 270. Some books have this as low as like plus 240, plus 245. I'm okay there. This is a half unit play or less for me, thanks to this huge number. It's Hirata over Jesper Svensson and Luke Clanton. I just think there's value in this number. I think Hirata is actually a pretty good course fit. Some of the comp, like he played really well at Sony, which I think you can compare to this course in at least some ways. Obviously, he's not like a prolific player on the PGA Tour. Most of you have never even heard of him. But when you're looking at Jesper Svensson and Luke Clanton hasn't been playing well for about a year. And I don't know that this is a great course fit for Luke Clanton personally. So if I box him out of this scenario, I look at Jesper Svensson. He has experience on this course, and he actually finished in a respectable way last year. But the thing is, the way he won last year, the way he finished, I think it was 32nd, was all through the putter. His ball striking wasn't good. I think he lost with the ball striking, actually. So I think it's a little deceiving looking at how he finished here last year. With that said, I feel like I'm getting a really good number on the plus 270 on Kenzie Hirata, who's flashed here and there, hasn't played a ton on the PGA Tour, but when he has, he's actually been pretty decent. He just needs to be a decent ball striker here, needs to be decent with the putter, and I think he can beat Jesper Svensson and Luke Clanton, who admittedly are more talented than him, I think. But again, this is plus 270 this afternoon. That is my 3-ball. EC, was Hirata one of the guys you were targeting in that Takumi Kanaya matchup?
Yeah, I was fading him, and Nakajima was the other one. Nakajima's 3 under par. I think Hirata could very well get off to a good start. I mean, obviously mine's a 4-round play. I do like Svensson today, though. Sia shot 64 in the opening round last year. He's a guy that I'm targeting for my top 10 spring training round 1 parlay there.
Yeah, again, I think Jesper is a really good ball striker, to your point. I also think the way he did it last year was a little, again, deceiving. I don't know what, like, Jesper Svensson is one of those guys, I don't know tournament to tournament. He's classically a great ball striker, but sometimes he just doesn't show up. I think Hirata's got some talent here. But again, I do want to emphasize it's a half unit play or less for me. Cooking with Buckets in the chat says, Sia, can you give us all a Europa League play? So that's obviously Buckets, right? Is he giving out plays in the chat, Larry? I hope. I guess not.
Excuse me. I have not seen that, but I know people are missing him. He's on an incredible run. He basically has to wear the top button now permanently.
So Cooking with Buckets, yeah, he does have to do that. Cooking with Buckets is in the chat. I think he's given out some advice in here. I know people are missing a soccer guy, but he's in the chat right now trying to help. And I know I don't have a Europa League play. Tom, did you see any college basketball questions in the chat?
I didn't.
Okay. Proppy, any NBA questions before we San Jose Sharks money line from Big Cheesy minus 130. Proppy, anything you saw in the chat?
Nothing in the chat. Another prop I'm giving a good look at, and I might put out as Donovan Clingan under 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists tonight.
All right. Cleveland Clown. Radio silence. LOL. Go ahead, Larry.
I should mention that tonight, Proppy will be in the Discord sweating some games starting at 7:30. We have a bunch of tip-offs at 7, but then throughout the night is another big NBA slate, 10 games. So sweat the games with Proppy. Get his advice on the games that haven't tipped off or even live betting some of these games. So that'll be fun tonight, 7:30 Eastern in the Discord.
7:30 Eastern in the Discord. EC, before you go, if you want to join Sportsline, sportsline.com/join. You get access to really everybody. I was in the golf chat last night answering some questions. I'm typically in there pretty much every day leading up to the tournament, sometimes mid-tournament giving out plays as well. But if you're already a member of Sportsline, you're not in the Discord, I don't know what you're doing, because it's so much access, not to just our experts, but to everybody else in the chat that's super talented. Put that up again so I can read it for the audio listeners one more time, Ben. Discord.gg/Sportsline, Discord.gg/Sportsline. And again, if you're not a member already, sportsline.com/join. See, do you like Gerard over Højgaard round 1? I assume that's Rasmus Højgaard. I don't love it. Also, Big Cheese, you didn't give me a number there. I assume it's like minus 120 or so, Gerard being a favorite. I love Gerard, but I don't know that I want to pick on Rasmus Højgaard necessarily. EC, I know you had something.
Yeah, see, I think really there's a great in-play opportunity for the guys that haven't teed off yet. I've talked about those round 1. You know, you like to play FRLs and you're really good at them, but, you know, FRLs can be tough to hit. If you can get a top 10 play, I mean, their numbers like Seamus Power, who I gave out earlier in the show, is plus 650 to finish in the top 10. If you like him, you know, you take a shot with a third of a unit and have a little bit of fun here. You put that in a parlay. You know, let's take a shot. So Chris Ventura is another guy that I'm targeting today.
Yeah.
Jesper Svensson's another one. These are guys at between 6 and 7 to 1. Let's take shots.
Chris Ventura is interesting. And again, you don't even have to put whatever you said, a third of a unit. You can put 0.1 units. It's plus 650. It's plus 800. Like, you know, have some fun with it if you believe in the bet. Of course, you could do a third of a unit if that's what you want to do. Let me just make sure there's nothing else in the chat. I do know that Ben said he liked Houston at Orlando today. I know that wasn't an official play. Ben, you can come on if you want, but I just want to make sure I didn't get that wrong. Ben was leaning towards Houston, laying a couple of points against Orlando tonight. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like fading Orlando off their West Coast trip. They played 4 games in a row on the West Coast. They come home. They play a Rockets team that's a little banged up, but I think they kind of got their footing now that they're a couple games after the All-Star break. So I like Houston laying a short number tonight, and Orlando kind of in a bad spot. I think Jalen Suggs is out or supposed to be out as well. So I do not trust that Magic team without Suggs. I think that offense really goes downhill without his leadership. So I like the Rockets tonight, minus 2.5.
Proppy, before we get to the recap screen, in the East, in the Eastern Conference, the Sixers have been pretty underwhelming. I think opinions were split on them, but Orlando came into the season, and I feel like a lot of people were like, hey, this Orlando team, like they could make some noise. In your opinion, are they the most, like relative to expectations, are they the most...
Sorry, you cut out for a second. Are they the most disappointing team, Sia? Is that what you asked me? Gentlemen? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I would say Orlando, very disappointing. Obviously, high expectations. Had a very successful year last year. Without Franz Wagner, though, that's obviously problematic for them. But the acquisition of Desmond Bane, they gave up a lot to get Desmond Bane. Their calling card has been their defense. Defensively, they are not the same team. So, yeah, they've been a big disappointment considering how open the East is. But they're still in the mix. I believe they're 31-26. And if they finish strong, they can still potentially have a first-round series at home. So I still think the Magic are alive, and that just speaks more to how soft the Eastern Conference is.
Fair enough. All right. Go ahead, EC.
Yeah, Desmond Bane, 20 or more points in 10 of his last 12 games. There might be an opportunity at plus money. There it was the other night when he played the Lakers. He hit a late three-pointer to get over there. So take a look at Bane, 20-plus points if you want to, throw that in there.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the recap screen. Ben, I don't know if you want to flash the initial recap screen because we did have that correction. If you have it. Okay, there we go. We were 5-5 today, not 6-4. We got that correction rectified. Let's go to our current recap screen. Don't forget, we have the extra pick from my golf matchup, which is going on right now. That 3-shot lead, I think, is now a 2-shot lead. So we're going to have to sweat this one down the stretch. But I'm going with a 3-ball that I'm putting a half a unit on, and I recommend maybe less if you want to do that, because it's very easy to win a full unit when you're betting plus 270. I got Kenzie Hirata over Jesper Svensson and Luke Clanton. Tom Casale, Michigan, Illinois, over 155.5. This one's on Friday, by the way, minus 110. South Dakota State, minus 11.5, minus 110 from EC. And a Cognizant Classic 3-ball, Seamus Power, plus 160 over Christian Bezuidenhout and Charlie Hoffman. FDU, plus 5.5, minus 118. That one from Larry Hartstein. And Propstarz, Najee Marshall over 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 120. And he said he is willing to play that at 28.5. I know some people in the chat were talking about boosts to get it at 28.5, but at plus money. So that's an interesting way to play that as well. Sportsline pick, Chip Patterson. Purdue first half, minus 3.5 at minus 115. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. Propstarz, Tom Casale, EC, Larry Hartstein, and Ben in front of the camera and behind the camera on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Everyone have a great show today. I see you, Eric, David, Steve Folkerts, Aikman is in here. Farzad is in here. Thanks for being in here every day, everybody. Hit the like button if you could. Audio listeners, we thank you as well, and we'll see you tomorrow. We rest our case.